Hey YouTube, this is Quay coming back to you today to talk about my experience with the ATI TEAS that I just took on November 15th. And yeah, I just wanted to give y'all a brief, I'll try to keep it brief, little synopsis of my experience and what I got. And yeah, so obviously if you're taking the TEAS, you know what the TEAS means. T stands for Test of Essential Academic Skills, and it's one of the entrance tests used for nursing students who are trying to get into the actual nursing program. Anyways, obviously you already know that if you're watching it. If you don't, then there you go. So, like I said, I took my test on November 15th. And I took version 6, so the ATI TEAS, which is a version 6. The 5 is no longer in rotation. So if you have any study material from 5, I'm not saying to like disregard it, but it's a good idea to get the ATI TEAS study material because it has changed. And so I wanted to go over those 4 sections really quick. So reading, science, math, and English. So yeah, those are the 4 sections of the TEAS test. And reading and science are the largest portions as far as percentage wise on that test. So for the reading, it's 31%, and science is 31% as well. Math is 20%, and English is 17%. So yeah, I'll go down each one of them really quick as far as what are the main subjects for each. And so for reading, like I said, it's 31% of the entire test, and there are 53 questions on the reading part. However, only 47 are scored, and you have 64 minutes to take the entire test. So on the reading portion, you have the key ideas, details, and key ideas and details. Second part is craft and structures, and then the last is integration of knowledge and ideas. So those are the main 3 parts of the reading portion of the TEAS. And so next part is math. Math is, like I said, 20%, and there are 2 subjects in the math portion. You have numbers and algebra, and then you have measurements and data. And so for the math portion, you have 36 total questions, 32 are scored, and you have a total of 54 minutes to complete those 36 questions. For science is 31%. There are 3 main parts. You have human anatomy and physiology, then you have life and physical sciences, and then you have, lastly, scientific reasoning. You are going to have 53 questions, 63 minutes to answer them all, and 47 are scored. So very, very similar to the reading section. And lastly, English. English is 17% of the TEAS. You have 3 main parts: conventions of standard English, knowledge of language, and vocabulary acquisition. So yeah, those are the 3 parts of the English portion. And you have 28 questions, 28 minutes, and only 24 are scored. So the only good thing about it is that you have, all these umpteen amount of questions. However, only such, like for the English part, 4 of those aren't scored. So say you get those 4 wrong, then that's going to be good for you. If you get those right, then, that's good too. Just get the rest of them right. So I'll go into what I made on my test. I got a 76.7% on my TEAS. I was shooting for an 80, and really my science brought it way down. And I was just super shocked at how my score or what my score was on the science part, because when I was taking the practice test, I did amazing on the science part. And I haven't had anatomy and physiology in 3-4 years because I've been out. I have an associate's degree. And so I haven't had it, so, in that amount of time. So I, was going to mainly brush up on anatomy and physiology, because the anatomy and physiology portion alone has like 32 questions out of the 53 questions that they ask you. So it's very important to know a lot about the anatomy and physiology. Anywho, so I'll break down my scores really quick. So the reading, I got 76.6. Math, I got a 93.8. Mind blown. Never would have thought I got 93. But science, gosh, I'm just so embarrassed to say. Oh, so anyways, I got a 61.7% on science. I'm just still trying to understand why. Anyways, English, I got a 79.2. So like I said, overall, I got a 76.7. And if I would have gotten at least a 70% or 75%, I would have had a 80% on the test or over. On the reading portion in the English, I felt like I did better than those 70s. I don't know. I feel like I did better than what I got. But the science portion took me for a loop. Like the questions that were asked on the practice test weren't really in the same format. I feel maybe the version I had was a little bit different, but the way that they were asked in this book, this is the one I used, the ATI TEAS Secrets Study Guide by Mometrix. Mometrix has a YouTube page. I'm going to drop their info in the description box, so look for that. They have a lot of good study videos. This book is bomb, so bomb is good. I did a lot of studying, and this book helped me out a lot. So I know some other people, get the actual ATI book, and it's expensive. The practice tests are expensive. So, I mean, if you aren't really willing to, or if you're not able to, pay the kind of money for those test materials, go on Amazon and buy this freaking book. I think I spent like $25-$30 on this book. And like I said, they have YouTube videos to help you brush up on a lot of things that you may not be familiar with, or you may haven't seen in a long time, and you just kind of want to, get a refresher. And I mean, a 76.7, that's not too bad. Like I said, I was shooting for an 80, but I got a 76.7, and that was proficient. So I got the score I needed to get into my BSN program. So I got that. So yay me. And then, the score, it wasn't given to me exactly after the test. So they gave me this pretty little paper here telling me, hey, 48 hours, you'll get your score. But I think I got it in 36, a little over a day and a half. They sent me an email, and then they also sent an attachment with the breakdown of the things I missed, what I need to go over, my percentages. And there was a mistake on my program type, because it was supposed to be BSN. That's what it was going to be initially, but I just went ahead and changed it to BSN. So right now I have the national percentage ranges on the ADN program. So that is a 66.1%. And so that's the national percentage, the national mean that all the ADN programs use as a proficient score to get into or most of them. I shouldn't say all. I would say most to get into their program. So yeah, main things you really want to brush up on for reading, I would say, was to make sure you know what the types of hold on, let me get my notes so I can tell you for sure. The parts of a book. So like thesaurus, index, table of contents, glossary. Make sure you know what they mean. Make sure you know what they look like. Make sure you know what their significance is in a book, because there are going to be questions on there that ask you those particular questions, like where would I find the definition of tree, the glossary, things like that. But obviously that's not a question. But just to kind of give you a synopsis, for the reading part too, you will have large passages, and those passages sometimes will be used to answer 5-6 questions. So if you need to, if you're not too good at reading, make sure you take enough time to read the passage, if you have to, slowly, so that you comprehend all the information it's giving you, so that once you go to answer all those 5 or 6 questions, then you'll be able to, without having to go back and skim through the passage to figure out what the answer is. So that's the main part for reading. This book is ridiculous. It's really good. It breaks everything down, gives you a lot of descriptions on what it's talking about. Make sure you know what a bias is, stereotype, cause and effect, different types of passages, the expository, technical, persuasive, narrative. Make sure you know what those are. Make sure you know what a metaphor is, simile, the differences, what a purpose is, just different things like that as far as reading goes. Now, for for math, make sure you know how to convert between decimals, fractions, and percentages. That is a very, 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 very big part of the math portion. And I think because I really bunkered down on how I needed to do that, that's why I got a 93.8 on the math, because I'm not too into math like that, but I got it done, and I was pretty happy with my, obviously it was a 93 or a 94 if you round up. There are little questions on the math part that ask, like, for instance, let me just find one real quick and read it. If I can find one. And I can show you or tell you, this is from the practice. So it's not an actual question. See, this is my practice book. I'm just reading you a question from the book. All right. Just so you know, how they ask those questions. Like, for instance, Chan received a bonus from his job. He pays 30% in taxes, gives 30% to charity, and uses another 25% to pay off an owed debt. He has $600 remaining from his bonus. What was the total amount of Chan's bonus? So things like that, questions like that, you will get on the math portion of the test. But like I said, remember to study that conversion, decimals, fractions, percentages, and how to convert between each, because that is very, very, very important. Now, also, you want to make sure you know how to go back and forth between US and metric system, because you will have questions like, what is, or how many yards are in a mile, or how many centimeters are in a foot, things like that. Now, the one good thing is that some of them actually give you a footnote, and those footnotes tell you 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. Yeah. So it's like that. So you, like I said, some of those questions give you those little footnotes, and some of them don't. So that's why it's just a good idea to go ahead and know them all. Know the differences between the U.S. system and the metric system. You want to know, inch, foot, yard, mile, what it is, U.S. equivalent, metric equivalent, ounce, cup, pint, quart, gallon. For nursing measurements, you got, fluid dram, ounces, milliliters, excuse me. Things like that. Know how to convert between each. Like, for example, one of the questions is convert 42 inches to feet. And another one is how many gallons are in 15.4 liters. And another one is how many grams are in 2 pounds. So things like that. Make sure you know how to convert between the U.S. and the metric and systems for the math part. For science, A&P, 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 anatomy and physiology. Like I said, anatomy and physiology has 32 questions alone out of the 53 that are asked on the test. So you need to know those. Those are going to be vital to getting you through the science portion. And so make sure you know all 11 of the systems in the body. Yes, they're 11. Make sure you know the differences between all of those body systems. Those are very important. Also, make sure you know the periodic table, know what an atomic number is, atomic mass is, what an isotope is, what a covalent bond is, an ionic bond. Know how to differentiate. Just know what they are, know what they mean. And because there will be questions asking about certain things like that, the periodic table, you really need to know how to read it. What number goes what, which one is up top, which one is on the bottom, what they all mean. Make sure you know that because that's going to be very significant. Sorry, y'all, I'm just kind of flipping through. DNA. Know what DNA is. Know what RNA is. Know what mitosis is. Meiosis is. Make sure you know the steps all the way through. That's very important as well. Sorry, I'm just looking through this book. Make sure I kind of brush up on everything. Cytology. Make sure you know everything you need to know about the cells, whether it's an animal cell or a plant cell, whether it has a cell wall or not, whether it has a nucleus or not, what the mitochondria is, what it does, what ribosomes do. Every organelle in the cell's cytology, make sure you know what they are. Make sure you know what it means, because it's going to be a lot of questions on here that ask you different things about certain parts. The states of matter, know how to differentiate between a gas, liquid, and solid. They're off. Now, there was 1 or 2 questions on here about, certain lab equipment. So if you don't know much about lab equipment, if you haven't had a lab before, make sure you know about those for sure. So going into the English part really quick, pronouns, nouns, adverbs, adjectives, subject-verb agreement. Know all of those because everything is very important. You're going to hear me say everything is very important because it is very important. There are a lot of questions with that particular material on the test. Make sure you know the difference between there, and there, bear and bear, for and for. I'm just giving examples, but of things you need to know on the test. How to spell a word in plural form, how it looks in singular form. Make sure you know how to do that as well. Prepositional phrases, adjective clauses, different types of clauses. Make sure you know all of that stuff, because the way that the test is set up, the practice test gives you an idea of how the questions will be asked. And so they range from here to here. I mean, and then it could be just anywhere. So you don't want to be like set on a specific, portion of the test. You need to know it all, because you never really know what version you're going to get. You don't know what questions you're going to get. So that's why it's very important to know all this information. I studied for 2 weeks. If you can study more for 2 weeks, please do, obviously. But I was working full time. I didn't really have a chance, and I'm in school still. So I was trying to, balance out my schedule, but I really had 2 solid weeks to study for this test. And, 76.7 isn't too shabby for 2 weeks of studying. And I busted my butt, like I said, trying to get all this information in my skull before the test. So I hope I answered some of the questions that you all may, be wondering about the version 6 of the TEAS test. Like I said, I went over my score, how the score was given to me after the exam, how I studied, what I studied, the different parts of the test. And one thing I do want to say is that when I started out, I didn't take a break, because I knew that if I took a break during a particular portion of the test, that the time clock would still run. And so I was just like, oh snap, I kind of just want to go ahead and get it done with. But as I got to the science part, which was the third part, my brain was kind of already jello. And I think that was one of the main reasons why I didn't do as well on the science part, because like I said, I know I'm pretty good at science. I really do know it, even though my TEAS test score didn't show it. But I think I let my nerves get the best of me on that portion. I actually got up and had to like walk out and was like, okay, you can do this. You know the material. Just go in, do what you can do, and then call it a day. And they gave me 5 minutes max as far as break time. Like I said, your clock is still running, and if you don't come back within 5 minutes, then basically you just forfeit the test. They said 5 minutes or so. Yeah. Make sure if you need to take a break, take a break. Make sure you get a very well balanced, not very well balanced. That's kind of a messed up sentence, but a very scratch very. I like to say very if you can't if you didn't notice it already. A well-balanced breakfast. Make sure you get a well-balanced breakfast. Make sure you get adequate sleep. Go to sleep the night before. I don't think I did. Oh, yes, I did. A little bit of studying the night before the test, but sometimes you just need to take a break. And one of the main things that I use to help me study is I recorded myself. So I would rather listen. I like more like auditorial learning. I recorded myself reading the lessons in the study guide, and I played them over and over and over and over and over and over. And that helped me a lot. So I'm not really going back to each section and looking and trying to figure out what it is. I can just go and listen to myself talk. That was one of my the study methods I used. Now I did a little bit of flashcards, but like I said, I had 2 weeks, so I was trying to get through the whole book and do the study test. So this book here gives you 3 full-length practice tests. I got through 2 of them all the way, and then I did the science part on the third one. And like I said, I got like a 93 on the science part. As far as the study guide was concerned. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That pretty much sums everything up about my experience with the ATI TEAS, or the version 6 of the TEAS test. And for those of you who are getting ready to take your test, I wish you the best of luck. Utilize the study material that's out there. If you are unable to purchase anything, go on YouTube, not telling you to go on YouTube, for as a main, resource. But if you are unable, YouTube has a lot of good resources that you can use to help you pass. So yeah, hope y'all liked it. Leave me any questions you may have in the comment box. Please like and subscribe if you want to. And y'all have a good day.